Well, my life began as I grew up uh, as a young man. I was born a Catholic, and then my parents divorced, and so I couldn't do that anymore, as was told. Uh, but went off into the world in different direction that a lot of people go. But probably 29 years old, uh, my son was saying things. He seen me do some things that I didn't really like, and he said that, and so I really, I believed all the tenets of the Bible. I believed that Jesus was the Son of God. I believed that he was born of a virgin. I believed all those things, but I didn't believe that he cared about me. And I started having dreams. And so one day I went to my boss and I said, because I kept seeing him in my dreams, that he had a message for me. So I went to him and I said, you have a message, and probably a little more forceful than that, but you have a message for me and I want it. And so he said, well, let me go talk to God. And I probably turned white as a ghost then, thinking he thinks he can talk to God. See, I didn't think God talked to us. I didn't know that at that time. And so he came back a little bit later, which was probably the best thing that happened. And he came and he started reading some scriptures. And for me, in about the second one, he was saying, come unto me, all you that are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And I felt at that time in the middle of Division Street, parked in a parking spot, that Jesus sat down in that pickup truck with us and he put his arms around me and said, welcome home, son. I always feel that. I stepped out of that truck, a brand new creation that had never been on planet Earth before. And so through all of that I was going through, my children's mother had decided she didn't want to walk that life. She went a different way. And so I spent the next 23 years diving into God. I felt in 1991 that I was to go what I would call occupational ministry. I felt the Lord calling me into that. At first, I fought it. But so then I went into it. But then I decided, I knew that I had two small children. And if I was going to be a Christian, say I was all in for the world, I had to go all in. So I started looking for a course or a Bible study or something. And I found a school. It's called Arlington Christian Studies. And so I went there for 2 years. But in the middle of that is when the Lord spoke to me. He wanted me the whole time. So I quit my job. And for the next 10 years, I live in a church nursery. And so it was, yeah. And then one day I come home from doing an outreach and the pastor said, well, we kicked you out of the church. And I'm like, what? So, no, we rented you a house across the street. So for that, in that part, I was a youth pastor, I was the outreach director, I was the associate pastor, fed people. So for over 30 years, that's a small encapsulating of where my story began. So I've been in ministry now since 1991, as I would call occupational. I run a large warehouse now. Had to make a decision. What was I going to do? 12 years youth pastor, but I felt to stay with the food part. I get to still minister to youth because they come and help us. So that was a good choice. But that's what I do. I feed people. We're one of the largest food banks and food pantries in North Texas. We not only help individuals, but we help other pantries. So, thousands, millions of pounds a year. So that's, for me, has been 30 some years.
So Gregory is one of those people you'll write books about later, that literally did the whole faith walk in a really huge way. And he has proven that kingdom principles work, like truly laying down your life for people. When it's God calling you to do it, like he takes care of you. And I often say that Gregory is the real deal. He is like Jesus with skin on. And there's no way we could do the Unleashing the Kingdom series. There is no way that we could actually prove the kingdom principles that the way Jesus taught is actually doable. So a lot of people will give lip service to it, but then live differently at home, right? An awful lot of people will profess to be integrous, but they'll lie on their taxes, or they'll lie to save a deal, or they'll do something like that, or they'll mistreat their family because they think the family is there to serve them as opposed to being there to be one unit. And so Gregory is my hero, and I am so blessed that actually when he said 23 years, that was the time he waited from his first wife for the Lord to bring him me.
Yeah, and so going in a little deeper in that, when I said the 10 years in it, I had no salary. And my family thought I was crazy. But my kids never went without. They're in their 30s now, both of them. They never did without. I traveled the world. I went to Africa 4 times. One time, raised the money in 3 weeks to go. It was pretty amazing. I've been all over Central America and South America. So God will provide. There was a short time when now I get a salary, but that for those 10 years there was no salary. It was just I would babysit at someone's home, or I'd cut their yard, or I'd do this, or somebody just come and say, "Hey, I feel you need this." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I had a food pantry, so I ate out of the food pantry. So that's
Walking by faith.
Walking by faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.